Yeah, okay. The point is that if you look at the NBS report, that's National Bureau of Statistics report, inflation report for March, there are two major components. That's what we call the core inflation, and there is the food inflation. For the first time in a long time, the core inflation seems is much higher elevated than the food inflation. Core inflation this time is 24.43. Food inflation is 21.79. And what that is speaking to is that items that have some relationship with imports, that is non-food items, experience much higher prices, over the review period. Whereas items that has to do with food did not experience that much elevated price. And the implication of that is that, most of the items that are non-food are anchored largely on imports. Import prices are anchored largely on foreign exchange and issues around the ports, clearance of the cargo, and all of that. So what one could deduce from this is that factors like the exchange rates, factors like the ecosystem in the international trade system, importation, import duty, clearance of cargo, and all of this seems to have had a major impact on inflation in March. So that is why we have a situation where we are having core inflation being much higher than food inflation. And this is essentially about exchange rate. And if you look at the trend, particularly in the later part of March, we have been witnessing some pressure in the exchange rate. And the economy is highly sensitive to movements in exchange rate. Once you have indications of depreciating exchange rates, it has a way of fueling inflation. And quite a number of things, even energy products are related in a way, to exchange rate because we still have some key components of that are imported. So this is where essentially the challenges are coming from. That is not to say that we still don't have challenges with food inflation. Of course, we still have challenges also arising from problem of insecurity, problem of the cost of logistics, and so on and so on. But the bigger issue for me here, going by the fact that we have a much higher elevated core inflation, is that things that are imported are now getting more expensive, particularly because of movements in exchange rate, and to some extent, also issues in the geopolitical environment, or global environment, if I may put it that way. All this tariff issue by Trump, impact of that on the strength of the dollar because the dollar is weakening and all of that. So quite a number of factors are driving this, but essentially it's about the exchange rates and of course the issue of energy costs, the issue of cost of logistics, and the cost of importation generally. So those are the key factors. And just as we say, these are generally supply side factors. Because when we talk about inflation, we have demand side factors, which is pressure coming from the demand side. We have supply side factors, which is pressure coming from the cost of inputs. But this is largely a supply side issue.
That's right.